Do you struggle to get time off work but want to explore everything this world has to offer? If that sounds like you, then this 7-day Turkey itinerary is a great solution. Granted, there won't be much laying on the beach or chilling by the pool, but instead you'll see the most amazing and unforgettable places you can think of in Turkey. If you are that lucky person who has more time to spare, add a day or two at any of these locations to ease up the intensity. Before I start with the itinerary, one thing you need to know is that Turkey is a huge country. Renting a car and going on a 7-day road trip simply isn't possible. Instead, you'll have to take 7 internal flights to complete this itinerary. That may sound like a lot, but don't panic, they are very cheap, short, and there won't be the lengthy security checks you get with international flights. Day 1, Istanbul. I would recommend starting your tour in Istanbul. It's not only the capital but has one of the biggest airports in Turkey, meaning the flights are cheaper and more frequent. I always recommend trying to get an earlier flight, you will have more time to explore. I suggest you stay in one of the 2 locations in Istanbul, the Old Town or the New Town. Old Town. The Old Town was personally my favorite due to its beautiful architecture, historic sites, culture, mosques and bazaars. The hotel I would recommend is the Sokalu Paşa Hotel. The room was beautiful and the breakfast was probably my favorite out of the whole stay in Turkey. For first-time visitors to Istanbul, I would also recommend the Old Town due to being closer to the typical tourist attractions. Hotels in the Old Town also tend to be cheaper than those you would find in the New Town. New Town. As given by the name, the New Town is the more modern area of Istanbul. It's better for nightlife, but doesn't quite have the character that the Old Town holds, in my opinion. The New Town is the more European part of the city and consists of some beautiful palaces and large shopping malls. Day 2, Istanbul. Once you've settled into your hotel and explored a little of your local neighborhood, you now have time to explore the beauty that is Istanbul. Obviously, in one day, you cannot see everything the city has to offer, but you can cover a few of the main attractions which I've covered below. The Blue Mosque. The Blue Mosque is one of the most well-known buildings in Istanbul and can be seen from across the city. Although it's called the Blue Mosque, it's not actually blue on the outside, only the inside. The beauty of the mosque is astounding, featuring huge domed ceilings with intricate tiled detailing. It can be a quiet escape from the hustle and bustle that is Istanbul. Hagia Sophia. Not far from the Blue Mosque is another of Istanbul's infamous attractions, the Hagia Sophia. In its past it has been a Catholic cathedral, Greek Orthodox church and a mosque. In the present, it is now a museum with a lot to offer. Explore the Grand Bazaar. The Grand Bazaar dates back to the 15th century and is the world's largest market, with over 3,000 stalls and attracts over 250,000 visitors each day. Goods include traditional Turkish carpets, cushions, jewelry and clothing, as well as an abundance of foods, herbs and spices. It's the perfect place to practice your haggling skills, and remember to never pay the original price given to you, it's all part of the fun. After exploring the city, take a late flight to Denizli on the evening. Day 3, Pamukkale. In my opinion, Pamukkale is one of the most unforgettable places in Turkey. It attracts many tourists each year due to its picturesque, snow-white limestone thermal pools. The pools cascade down the mountainside and are simply breathtaking. If you're on the tight schedule like we were, one day is certainly enough. Pamukkale is in a relatively small area that you can easily explore in one day. I stayed at Hotel Şahin, which had small rooms but great location and the most amazing view from its restaurant area where you'll be served breakfast. It was only a few minutes walk to the bottom entry of the pools. There are very few tourists at this entrance as opposed to the top of the pools, so I would recommend starting here if possible. Another bonus is you'll get a few nice photos without a mass amount of tourists. There's also a pretty cool swimming pool behind the terraces by one of the cafes, and the ancient city of Hierapolis with a nice amphitheater, which are also great places to explore if you have the time. Day 4, Adıyaman. Take the morning flight from Denizli to Adıyaman. I would recommend hiring a car here as this part of Turkey is not very touristy and the ruins are around 1.5 hours drive away. Allow some time for the rental car company at the airport, you'll find yourself dealing with a very inefficient system, I did anyway. Landing in Adıyaman around midday gives you 2 options. You can either hike the ruins of Mount Nemrut or use the day to rest, or hike the ruins the following morning before your next flight at midday. Since we opted to hike Nemrut the following day, we drove to the much smaller ruins called Piran. To be honest, they turned out to be much less impressive as the photos showed, and unless you are particularly interested in this kind of activity, it may be worthwhile to spend the day relaxing and enjoying the Turkish sun. Day 4, Mount Nemrut. We stayed overnight in Adıyaman in a hotel approximately 1.5 hours from Mount Nemrut. We would have stayed closer to the mountain, but there aren't too many accommodation options available, making this a tricky task. The plan was to leave the hotel before 4 a.m., get there around 5 a.m., and hike to the top for the sunrise. Of course, when the alarm went off and you guessed it, we went back to sleep. In the end, we got there around 9 a.m. It takes about half an hour to walk from the car park. This is assuming you get the lift to the higher car park where only the local van service can drive. If not, you would have to walk the extra couple of kilometers uphill, so this is something to take into account. The hike was pretty easy as you can follow a small path uphill. It is only the last 20 minutes where the terrain becomes a little more difficult, yet it is nothing that a pair of trainers won't solve. It can get a bit chilly on the top, depending on the month you're visiting. In May, we still had some patches of snow, though it was still very warm, and I managed this hike in a romper. In the early afternoon you will fly to Cappadocia, specifically Kayseri Airport. Day 5, Cappadocia. Cappadocia is without a shadow of a doubt my favorite place in Turkey. It's a city built into the unique rock formation known as the Fairy Chimneys. There are so many gorgeous hotels built in these rocks and caves. Try to stay in one of them at least one night. It's definitely worth it and one of the unique experiences Cappadocia has to offer. I stayed at Anatolian House's Cave Hotel and I thought it was excellent. The room with the bathroom was a real cave. Take a look at some of my Instagram stories here. Cappadocia is best known for its sky full of colorful balloons, and you simply cannot visit without embarking on one of its famous balloon rides. The view is incredible, hundreds of balloons engulfing the morning sky simultaneously. The flights cost around $150 and are very weather dependent. My advice is that if you only have 2 days in Cappadocia, try to book your balloon flight for day 1, as if the weather isn't fantastic you always have the second day to fall back on. The balloon flights are a very early start, taking off before sunrise for a 2-hour flight. After the balloon ride you have plenty of time to discover the area. I strongly recommend going on a quad tour. They are very popular in Cappadocia and there are plenty of cool places for you to explore. Day 6, Cappadocia. If you take your hot air balloon flight on your first day in Cappadocia, you can spend the second day watching them take off across the horizon. Make sure you find a hotel with a good terrace view to do so. Vista Cave is probably one of the best ones I could find and is really incredible. After the balloon flight, go on a day tour. There are plenty of tour operators in the center of Cappadocia where you're able to book, just remember to do so on the previous day. In the evening you fly out to Izmir. There are direct flights, so this time you won't need to fly through Istanbul. You'll land pretty late though, so make sure you organize a pickup from the airport to ensure the trip runs seamlessly and you're not wasting time. Day 7, Izmir. If you ask a local person what to do in Izmir, I'm sure you will hear that there is plenty to choose from. However, from a tourist's perspective who is on a tight schedule, I did not discover much. Therefore, you can spend this day just chill, in which case, make sure you choose a nice hotel with a pool. I would recommend Wyndham Grand Izmir Özdilek. Alternatively, you could plan a day trip to Çeşme, a beautiful beachfront town west of Izmir. Day 8, depart for home. Your 1-week whirlwind Turkey adventure would have now come to an end, but you will have seen so much that the incredible country has to offer. If you have more time and would like to discover more of Turkey,